Alright, so let's look at what other people have to tell about us. In London, there is a school called St. James School. They've now understood the value of Sanskrit literature, how valuable it is to students, what difference it can make not only in their mind but in their career also. You know, everywhere, Stanford, Edinburgh, Harvard universities need lecturers. But there is no supply, there is only demand. So in this school, they've started training children right from their, pre-KG to get used to the language. They made it compulsory. The children can't even pronounce Sanskrit properly. With those English kind of accent, they strive so hard to actually pronounce the mantras. Even though they are not able to pronounce it properly, they strive so hard to actually speak the language. Okay? So, why are all the other places giving so much importance to Sanskrit language? Because so much is there in the language, be it work. Harvard, Stanford, Edinburgh, everywhere they are starting Sanskrit universities, which mean that language is in demand now. NASA wanted to have a lot of Sanskrit professionals because the central hub of different languages needs a language which can be compatible with all the languages. For example, they want English, somebody inputs in English, but the output has to be in some French or Russian. They need a middle language where they can take the information in and give it out. So from any language to any language, they needed a central hub. So most of the modern languages could not really, be suitable for this. So they tried the ancient languages and they found Sanskrit to be the most suitable language for all these kind of translations, right? And for that, people from NASA came to Pondicherry, Aurobindo Ashram. Aurobindo Ashram is there in Pondicherry. They requested for 1,000 people to be employed with NASA to actually do this work. The main purpose was Sanskrit has the benefit of what we call as sutras. Sutra means minimum number of alphabets, maximum meaning embedded in it. So this sutra concept can be a big savior of memory because every alphabet gets converted into multiple bits and bytes. Is that right? Bits and bytes, how do we represent bits and bytes? 0 and 1. And who contributed zeros? We contributed zeros. So a big portion of today is because of our ancestors. Without zero, IT industry itself cannot be there today. Right? You're able to understand the value of it. So today, they actually wanted 1,000 people because sutras were the best form of translating the information. And you know what? Aurobindo Ashram said we don't have 1,000 people. Because people who knew Sanskrit did not know English. People who knew English were not masters in Sanskrit. So they went to the Pandits who said we will not cross the oceans. They did not have anywhere else to go. Best ways to train their own people. So they took some basic training from us. They are now starting to train everybody, making it compulsory across universities. 143 universities across the world outside of India have Sanskrit in their curriculum. 143 universities outside of our country. Think of the amount of importance this is gaining. And why are they doing it? Because so much of richness is there in this language. Okay? So, we saw St. James College, junior college. People acknowledge it. They've started appreciating our practices. And you can see that for yourself, Obama lighting the lamp. They have Vedic chants inside their prayers. China, placed a statue of Mahakavi Kalidasa, saying that he is one of the greatest contributor to Asian literature. Okay, to Asian literature. So they have a statue of Mahakavi Kalidasa, which we cannot be proud of. You go to Bangkok airport. you'll be surprised to see such a huge Samudra Mathanam. You know that, right? The Kurma avatar of Vishnu. So they say we are proud of our ancestry. The Hindu ancestry, the Samudra Mathana, they've kept it right in the airport where people are welcome. And it's a huge thing. If you go, you'll appreciate it, the Bangkok airport. This is a very interesting thing. Let me just tell you a story before I go to this slide. Swami Vivekananda was in France. He used to actually deliver a lot of extremely motivating lectures. So people were at awe to come and listen to his lectures. You know, Telstar, with whom people could not even get appointments, used to wait outside to listen to Swami Vivekananda's speech. Such was his, eloquence in speech. Now Swami Vivekananda's diary was filled with one date, which was 30 days later in France. What happened between the date of booking and the date of delivery was a lot of commotion and confusion happened because English and French people had difference of opinions. People could not accept if a person spoke in English if they were French, and the converse. Now, Swami Vivekananda usually speaks in English. So because the differences were, increasing every other day, people were really scared. Should we go ahead with this lecture or not? Maybe we should cancel the entire program. So they came and they asked Swami, should we cancel this because a lot of, chaos is happening everywhere. Swamiji said, no. Let me do things as scheduled. In Sanskrit we say, Arabdam uttama jinaha na parityajanti. If we start something, extremely well-versed people don't just leave things halfway. So they want to complete the task which they've taken. So Swami Vivekananda said, no, let me actually complete this lecture. So as they were nearing the day of the actual speech, the commotion, confusion was much higher. And now on the day, the organizer said, even now it's not too late to cancel. Are you sure you want to go ahead? Swami said, yeah, let's go ahead. So he came, he spoke, full 3 hours, pin drop silence in the auditorium. Swamiji finishes a speech, people stand up and they gave him standing ovation. Guess what Swami did in order to speak? How did they listen so attentively? He spoke in Sanskrit? No, in that case, how will French people understand Sanskrit? Swami Vivekananda spoke the entire 3 hours in French. So people came and asked him do you know French? We did not know that you know French. We thought the oration is going to be in English. Swamiji said, yeah, I didn't know French when you actually came to book my date. Then how did you deliver the lecture for 3 hours? He said, I knew Sanskrit, so learning French was easy. He knew Sanskrit, so he learned French and gave a lecture for 3 hours just in French. Imagine. And today, we have a news item which says, New Zealand school teaches Sanskrit and claims it helps children understand English. Think about it, learning Sanskrit helps them to learn English, and the reason is because we learn the bigger thing. 7/3 matrix we learn in Sanskrit. So when we go into the detail of a perfect language, Sanskritam is called as Samyak Kritam Sanskritam, perfectly made language. And what are we speaking about? 195588511 years of, perfecting the language. Every other language becomes a subset. German language, the grammar is based on Sanskrit language. French says they are based on German, so ultimately on Sanskrit. So learning French was not very difficult from Swami Vivekananda. Today they say English is also that way because it's another small subset of the language. So once you know the master language, the mother of all languages, everything else actually is simplified. Okay, so that's the news item we have. In Mauritius, they passed a bill on spoken Sanskrit. Now, I've been keep telling about the language. People say this, it's worked that way, it's worked this way. To prove the value of it, Dr. Fred Travis did a research on what are the benefits of doing meditation as against reading Sanskrit language, as against reading other languages. And the research is actually amazing. If we notice, there is something called EEG and coherence, where it says effects of meditation, it increases, reading Sanskrit, it increases, reading other languages, it decreases. Now, what is this EEG and coherence? What we mean is, whenever your mind does something, our body, everything has to be coherent to the thought in our mind. So, what we think our body has to do. Now, this coherence factor, actually, when we are not thinking, when we are not very active, the waves will be at a distance. So, the waves, are at a distance. When we are active, when we are immersed in some thought, we are into action, the waves are close together. It's very narrow. So now, when we meditate, we are actually not doing anything. But the results are surprising. He says the coherence actually increases when you meditate. Similarly, when you read Sanskrit, it is increasing, the coherence is increasing. Now, why should the coherence increase? What is the benefit of that? Our coherence is related to idea generation. It is related to our right brain. It's related to our creativity. So if our coherence is more, we are more creative. We can come up with new ideas. We get more talented. We can accomplish a lot of things by triggering our right brain activity. Usually in curriculum in academics, it's a lot left brain oriented. Logical thinking, writing, reading, numbers. Now right brain activity also becomes coherent if we learn Sanskrit. In fact, one more research study says learning Sanskrit increases our right and left brain coordination. It uses both right and the left brain. How is that? Think about this. There is a sloka. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Okay. How do we recite that in Sanskrit? Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. We tell it like a song. Song is related to right brain. Words are related to left brain. Both automatically get triggered. Now we write it in Devanagari Lipi. Writing, left brain is triggered. We keep underlining the top portion of it. Right brain gets triggered. Both gets triggered together. Maybe that's the reason Einstein used 15% of his brain. Because he learned Sanskrit. There's a probability, right? So when you learn Sanskrit, your EEG and coherence increases. So is it an important thing for students? How many of you think it's important for students? EEG and coherence, increasing your creativity, talents, idea generation. How many of you think it's important? Wonderful. Alright. Now the next point which you can't refuse is the last one that you see here. The rate of your breathing. The rate of your breathing. How many of you use prepaid SIM cards here? Prepaid SIM cards. How many of you use it? Lot of you. Now just imagine a situation, alright? You increase your talk time to 300 minutes. Okay? 300 minutes talk time, you increase your prepaid card. Now you keep talking on and on and on for 1 week. You exhaust your 300 minutes talk time. Okay? Another person at the same time, updates for 300 minutes talk time, hardly makes 1 call per day. Utilizes this 300 minutes till 3 months, till the last day it can last. Alright? Now, just draw a parallel to our life. God gives us the number of breath. When we are born, God says, I will give you the number of breath which you need for 100 years. Shatamanam bhavati shatayuh purusha, he says, 100 years you can live. Now what happens when we are anxious? When we are anxious, do we deep breathe or do we breathe fast? Breathe fast. So we exhaust a lot more breath. Age, lifespan reduces. Now we are tensed. What happens? We breathe fast. Lifespan decreases. We are stressed about something. What happens? Lifespan decreases. When we take a long deep breath, lifespan increases. When we are relaxed, calm, comfortable, we take long deep breath, lifespan increases. So also, doing meditation actually decreases our rate of breathing, which means lifespan increases. Reading Sanskrit decreases our rate of breathing, which means lifespan increases. But reading modern languages increases our rate of breathing, which means lifespan decreases. So a lot of people tell me actually, we are learning a lot of foreign languages. Why should we learn Sanskrit? That's exactly the reason you should learn Sanskrit. At least to balance it. Your breath rate is actually decreasing in one place, you have to increase it in the other. So also the converse. So if we are learning foreign languages, we definitely have to learn Sanskrit at least to average it out. Now another interesting thing, if you observe, our old people at home, grandmother or relatives, if you notice, they keep reciting a lot of slokas all the time and their lifespan was much higher. Today, the lifespan on an average is reduced to just 64 years. And it's because of stress and tension, right? So we actually, 100 years is granted to us. It is in our hands to use 100 years. Because we don't breathe properly, our time is actually getting reduced. So you can increase your lifespan by just reading Sanskrit language. So not only for yourself, spread this word to everybody. Let everybody be benefited. Let everybody's lifespan get increased. Your loved dear ones, parents at home, you all want them to live longer, right? So the solution is go read Sanskrit language. So now I've explained it to you. So the first point which we've been discussing is we allow everybody to come and learn from us. Who were our students? Who all were students? A lot of foreigners came. We started with Max Muller. Then I spoke about Steve Jobs. Who else? Albert Einstein. Yes. Then we even spoke about Dr. Fred Travis. A lot of people actually came here. They learned from us. We are very happy to actually share our knowledge with everybody. The problem comes in the second stage. When people disassociate from us, they learn from us, but unfortunately, the credit is not given to us. Okay? They disassociate from us. They erase the Indian origin. And it looks like somebody somewhere created this. Okay? Let's just see an example. I can see a lot of light bulbs here. Who invented light bulbs? Thomas Alva Edison. Loud and clear. Wonderful. Now, we have the telephones. Who invented the telephones? Graham Bell. Again, loud and clear. Third question. If you answer the third question correctly, 100 marks. We have the tires. Without the wheels, the entire world would come to a standstill today. The cars, the two-wheelers, everything runs on the invention called wheel. Who invented the wheel? Somebody, somewhere, Mesopotamia, BC is what even Wikipedia tells. But you know why we don't know? Because we were the creators. We were the creators, that's the reason we don't know. The old, America actually recognizes the world's oldest scripture as Rig Veda. The world's oldest scripture is Rig Veda. Now in Rig Veda, the entire explanation of the wheel comes. not only the explanation of the wheel, it explains about the hub, the spokes, the fulcrum, whatnot, entirely how it should happen. We've even named the Surya Bhagavan as Eka Chakri because he goes in a slow speed. We have the concept of Uttarayan, Dakshinayan. The sun actually moves, he's Eka Chakri, he moves slowly. Okay, so we knew the concept of chakra from time immemorial. What is the weapon which Lord Vishnu carries? Sudarshana Chakra. So, wheel is not a new concept to us. Chakra is not a new concept to us. But the Indian origin is erased. We are, disassociated, and somebody somewhere found out this great invention which everybody uses free of cost. Imagine we charging royalty for this. Our country will become super rich overnight. Okay? So, let's see what else we found out. Not only the concept of wheel, we had the concept of machinery also. Yantranava Balapata speaks about, how continuous motion, we use the wheels for continuous motion, etc. Some other things are mind-boggling here. In the Sanskrit language, there is not even an alphabet without a meaning, leave alone words without a meaning. Every alphabet has a meaning. I'll just give you one example. Hridayam, heart. The word heart in Sanskrit we call as Hridayam. In Tamil we call as Idayam. Hridayam, what we mean by that is, it's made of 3 alphabets. Hridaya. Hri means harati, receives. Da means dadati, gives. Ya means yati, transports. So you don't have to by heart the definition, automatically the definition comes harati, yati, dayati, which receives, gives, transports in the meanwhile, which gives the blood, is actually called as hridayam. Self-sufficient word. Okay. Similarly, a lot of such words are there. Samyak kritam samskritam. Now, which country do we all belong to? India is the current name of the country, which is Bharatam. Bharatam itself has a meaning. Anybody knows the meaning of Bharatam? Bharatamuni, yes, that is one thing. The other thing is Basu Rataha Bharatam. Basu means Bhaskara, Bhaskara sun god. Dwa means radiance, the effulgence. The effulgence, Rataha means immersed. People who are immersed in knowledge. Effulgence, radiance is usually compared to knowledge. Darkness is compared to ignorance. We, every single person here, is supposed to be immersed in knowledge. People who enjoy knowledge. Other than knowledge, we don't know anything. That is our heritage. So people who are immersed in knowledge are Bharatiyas. So our country is known for it, which is called as Bharatam. Now what happens is, when the language changes, or when the language is spoiled for the convenience of a few who can't pronounce properly, we actually lose the meaning of it. Bharatam, each of us are proud to have so much of knowledge, is that right? Unfortunately, India, what is the meaning of India? We never know. So, Basurataha, be proud that we can do any calculation, any computation. Now, even if we do a small writer for 2 pages, we feel brain drained. Is that right? That's not our heritage. We are Bharatiyas, people who enjoy knowledge. So, we used to do a lot of word-related meaning things. We've done intestine surgery, can you believe it? We've also done kidney stone removal ages back. Not only that, you will be surprised, plastic surgery. We were pioneers in plastic surgery. Sushruta was the father of plastic surgery. Now just think about it, in Europe, 1500 AD, they were supposed to be pioneers of plastic surgery at that time. And if you read how they were doing plastic surgery, it is very interesting. You know, the hand is there. A small part of the hand was cut. Suppose a person has a plastic surgery in the nose. They cut a small part of his hand, the skin from it. They stick it to the nose. So the person has to physically do like this. Okay, they stick it onto the nose. For 48 days, that person should not move his hand even by an inch. What will happen if he moves? The nose will fall down. Alright? So, after 48 days, if he moves and the nose falls down, that's all. Again, the resurgery has to be done. And lifelong, his nose had a different color, his skin had a different color in the rest of his face. Now, Sushruta, who was our ancestor, you know what he did? In Sushruta Samhita, ages back, thousands of years back, he had mentioned that to do a plastic surgery, take a leaf. Okay? Take the leaf from any plant. I've got the actual pictures from Sushruta Samhita here. So that leaf, attach it to the nose and take the template of a person's nose. Because every nose has a different shape. So they draw the template. They reverse the template, keep it on the forehead. Draw the template out. They give wine as an intoxicant to the person so that he does not feel the pain. They reverse the top portion of the skin to his nose so that there is no hanging on to the hand or anything. The skin of the face is the same everywhere. So Sushruta has written that his nose will remain in the same color for the rest of the life. He does not have to be conscious. He also says the skin in the forehead will regrow. Do we know that? The skin in the forehead will regrow, so nothing to worry, that person can lead a normal life after that. And today you will be surprised, in Europe, they say they follow the Indian method of plastic surgery. They use the Sushruta Samhita. Hats off to our ancestors. Another advanced thing which we are yet to polish today is the concept of test tube babies. You know what? Test tube babies are not new even to the Kali Yuga. We had that even during the Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. Have you heard of Mahabharata? Pandavas and Kauravas? All the Kauravas, without exception, were test tube babies. And it is not just 100. If you buy 100, you get one free. There was Dushala which was complementing that. So 100 Kaurava brothers with one sister called Dushala was born. Have you heard of Dronacharya? Guru of all the Pandavas and Kauravas. He was born in a droni. Droni is something like a bucket in Sanskrit. Because he was born in something like a bucket, he was called as Drona. Born in a droni. Have you heard of Agastya? We call him Tamil Mamuni. His other name is Kumbha Muni. Agastya. He was supposed to be born in a Kumbha, so his name is Kumbha Muni. Now, because we do not know the original names, we forget their histories. Okay? So, all these people, Agastya, Vashishta, Kripacharya, Dronacharya, all the Kauravas, everybody were test tube babies. Today, only 34% success rate in test tube babies, but we had 101% success rate ages ago. How many years is Kali Yugam? 4,32,000. So how many years is Dwapara Yugam? 8,64,000. Imagine when we knew all these concepts. Isn't it mind-boggling?